Hey guys, how's it going? Okay, so a while back I had reviewed the ASUS TUF Gaming F15 laptop. And while it's a great gaming laptop, a lot of you guys were peculiar as to see how the same machine would perform with an AMD Ryzen processor on the other side. Well, here we are. This is the ASUS TUF A15, which is pretty much the F15 but comes with an AMD Ryzen 7 5800H processor. So, is it any better than its Intel counterpart? And should you consider getting the A15? Well, let's find out. This is Varun from GTR and you're watching my in-depth review of the ASUS TUF Gaming A15 laptop. Let's get started. Alright, so let's kick things off by talking about the design here. So just like the F15, ASUS has gone with a rather simple plastic look, but I think I personally like this one more than the F15. I mean, here's a side-by-side comparison for you to view, and I feel most folks would agree with me on this sentiment. You get a pseudo metallic lid, while everything else is tough plastic. Now the palm rests have a brushed texture that is again quite subtle and proves to be sort of helpful for those sweaty sessions. The laptop weighs around 2.3 kgs, which is definitely heavy, and this thing isn't slim either. Add to that a bulky charger, and this isn't exactly your on-the-go machine. But then again, most gaming laptops aren't, so that's fine. Now in terms of I/O, you have the USB-A and Kensington lock on the right side with a massive exhaust between them. While over to the left side, you have the AC adapter, an RJ45 Ethernet port, a full-size HDMI port, two USB 3.2 ports, a USB Type-C port, and a 3.5 headphone jack. Now one thing to note here is that unlike the ASUS TUF F15, the Type-C port on this is not Thunderbolt because obviously that's Intel and this is AMD, and that's basically the only difference. I mean, apart from the lid and the exclusion of a Thunderbolt port, this is pretty much the same thing as the F15. Functional, basic, and yeah, just works. Moving along, there's the display, and once again, it's the same as the F15. 15.6 inch 144Hz IPS panel. Now there are things I admire here like the high refresh rate and decent viewing angles, but the color accuracy just isn't good. See, as a gamer, I'm pretty sure 90% of the folks would be very happy with the panel right here, especially considering the price point. However, a lot of folks eye gaming laptops for content creation as well. And that's something that this panel cannot do. So if you're intending to buying the A15 for your image or video editing needs, I would suggest investing in a good monitor as well. Next up, we have the keyboard, and contrary to most budget gaming laptops, this does have RGB. Single zone with no perky customizability, but yeah, it does have RGB, which is still better than most budget gaming laptops that only have a single white colored or red colored or maybe even green colored LED, and that's it, like nothing else. So yeah, at least you can still customize this thing to some extent. The WASD keys always look a bit brighter thanks to the transparent design, and the typing experience on this is actually pretty good. Now, I'm not a fan of these small arrow keys, however, and considering the fact that there's no symmetry here anyway, ASUS could have, actually should have, put full-sized keys. Nonetheless, as an overall package, I don't seem to have any complaints about this. Now below it there's a touchpad, and while it's good enough for the most part, the palm rejection on this just isn't good. Multiple times when I was typing, my cursor would just get relocated because of my palm detection, and I literally had to just disable the touchpad to use it properly. See, gestures and all work fine, and while I would have preferred having a bigger touchpad, if they can't control the palm rejection, then what you have here is fine. My advice, just use a dedicated mouse. Like similar to the panel for content creators, the touchpad here is good enough for normal usage, but heavy users should definitely invest in a good gaming mouse. Speaking of which, would you be interested in knowing some of the best gaming mouse that you can buy in India right now? Well, let me know in the comments down below, and who knows, maybe I'll just make a video on that. Now moving along, we have the speakers, which are pretty good to be honest. Sure, you should still buy a good pair of headphones for proper gaming, and I'll tell you about that why. But for basic entertainment needs like watching a YouTube video or a movie, the speakers are pretty good enough. What's not good enough is the webcam here. I mean, it's decent. I mean, decent is also a stretch. The footage is very smooth. There's a lot of graininess, a lot of noise. The frame rate, at least while recording, does not look good. I'll let you be the judge on the frame rate and the actual end result, as well as how the mics perform. Because yeah, this audio is being recorded from the mic itself. But yeah, personally, I feel using this for anything other than video calls is a big no-no. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but even with the slight hand movements on my table, if I'm just topping like this, the hinge isn't holding up very well. So you can notice a very, very strong movement in the panel here. So yeah, that is another thing to keep in mind. So like right now I'm using it on a desk, so it's fine. But imagine if you're trying to use this thing on your lap, and yeah, the video experience is going to be very poor. Alright, now let's talk about performance, shall we? So our unit here comes equipped with an AMD Ryzen 7 5800H processor coupled with 16GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 MHz. There's a 512GB NVMe SSD here for storage, and for GPU you have the Nvidia RTX 3060 GPU with 6GB of VRAM. That's apart from the Vega graphics that you get on board with the CPU. Now in terms of benchmarks, the A15 is an absolute beast. I thought the F15 was great, but this thing is even better. The CPU and GPU together literally spit out amazing results in benchmarks, be it synthetic or gaming. In fact, the GPU can handle pretty much all AAA titles above 60 FPS with ease, and you can even take well-optimized titles like Far Cry above the 100 mark. Now in our testing, under heavy load, we averaged around 87 degree mark. Further, we reached a peak of 95.6 degrees Celsius after 1 hour of stress testing. Now despite that, the surface was relatively cooler and was still usable. This is largely due to the dual fan setup in here, which, mind you, gets super loud. And no, I'm not exaggerating it by any means. I don't mean loud, I literally mean super loud, where you literally just have to own a good pair of headphones if you want to game on this thing, because the fans are, well, take a look for yourself. Now digging inside, you can also notice that ASUS has actually made the A15 quite upgradable too. You get user upgradable sodium RAM slots, and there's an additional PCIe 3.0 M2 slot for adding storage if you want to. By the way, speaking of storage, the SSD used here in itself is pretty damn fast as well. Lastly, there's the battery. Now this massive 90 watt-hour battery, when set to balanced, can easily last about 8 hours, which is pretty impressive for a gaming laptop. Of course, under realistic loads, this thing can last a little over 2.5 hours, which is about what I would expect from a gaming machine with this much horsepower. So yeah, that's fine. And the good thing here is that when you're using it on battery, the RTX graphic card is completely switched off, and instead the system switches to the Vega graphics, which is pretty good because you don't really need that dedicated prowess of an RTX GPU. Instead, you get a very capable GPU in the form of Vega graphics, which is still good enough for, well, Photoshop on the go. And yeah, you can get more juice out of the battery without having to, well, extensively compromise on the performance part. So, bottom line. Damn, I was gonna spin this thing, but it's too heavy. Ready up. Bottom line, is the ASUS TUF Gaming A15 worth it? Well, for a price tag of rupees 1 lakh, absolutely. I mean, in fact, it even manages to blow its Intel counterpart away. The F15 is an excellent machine, don't get me wrong, but if Thunderbolt does not matter to you, which probably shouldn't anyway, for this price tag and considering the fact that you already get a plethora of ports on board, definitely you should pick the AMD variant. It's faster, better, in pretty much every manner whatsoever. So yeah, this one gets an easy recommendation. And well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Vaughn from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.